Ladies and gentlemen, gather round for today's episode of World News According to the Donald, where we dive headfirst into the swirling vortex of geopolitics, all with a wink and a nod. And remember, don't forget to tap that subscribe button like you're hitting a piñata at a 5-year-old's birthday party and leave a comment with your thoughts. Because what's democracy without a little feedback? In the red, white, and blue corner, we have President Donald J. Trump, the maestro of deals, the sultan of social media, and the man whose hair defies both logic and gravity. Today, he's hopeful, yes, hopeful, that Russia and Ukraine can finally shake hands and call it a day after their little disagreement over land, sovereignty, and who has the best borscht recipe. Trump, with his usual flair for understatement, took to his social media magnum opus, Truth Social, to express his optimism. Hopefully, Russia and Ukraine will make a deal this week, he posted, probably while enjoying a Diet Coke and a Big Mac. He further added, both will then start to do big business with the United States of America, which is thriving, and make a fortune. Because nothing says peace quite like capitalism, folks. Now, for those of you who've been living under a rock, or perhaps just avoiding the news, and who could blame you? This so-called war between Russia and Ukraine has been going on for over 3 years. Yes, that's right, 3 years, which in the world of conflicts is basically a full-fledged Netflix series. It's cost tens of thousands of lives, which is, to put it mildly, slightly more serious than your average sibling rivalry. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who has managed to keep his cool despite being in the geopolitical equivalent of a never-ending family reunion, accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of playing fast and loose with their Easter ceasefire agreement. According to Zelenskyy, the Russian army has violated Putin's own ceasefire more than 2,000 times. That's right, folks, over 2,735 violations. You'd think with numbers like that, they'd at least be eligible for a Guinness World Record. Zelenskyy, ever the optimist, stated that Ukraine would respond to silence with silence. A rather poetic way to say, we won't start it, but we'll sure as heck finish it. He added, actions are always more eloquent than words, which is just the kind of wisdom you'd expect from a man who went from the comedy stage to the world stage. Now, President Putin, not one to be outdone, ordered his forces to halt all military activity along the front line for the temporary Easter ceasefire until Sunday midnight, Moscow time. Why Sunday? Perhaps he wanted to catch the latest episode of his favorite reality show, Keeping Up with the Kremlin. Zelenskyy had previously suggested that if the Easter ceasefire held, it could be extended. 30 hours, he argued, might make headlines, but 30 days could give peace a chance. And who wouldn't want 30 days of peace, right? That's enough time to binge watch a couple of seasons of The Apprentice. But alas, trust is a fickle thing. As Zelenskyy wisely noted, there is no trust in words coming from Moscow. He knows all too well how Moscow manipulates, which, let's be honest, is the diplomatic equivalent of saying, I've dealt with used car salesmen before. Enter Reptor Brian Fitzpatrick, RPO, who, like the rest of us, has his doubts about Putin's promises. On CBS's Face the Nation, Fitzpatrick remarked that the likelihood of Russia upholding any deal is entirely up to Vladimir Putin. He added, with the kind of understatement that only a politician can muster, the man has never kept his word, ever, in any context as far as I'm aware. It's reassuring to know that some things never change, like the laws of physics and Putin's penchant for unpredictability. Fitzpatrick also gave a shout-out to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, praising his understanding of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the history behind it. I have full faith in his ability to barter a just and fair agreement, Fitzpatrick explained, reminding us all that faith is a wonderful thing, especially when facts are in short supply. Now, in a world where peace deals are brokered over lunch and broken by dinner, it's important to remember the people who are affected the most. President Zelenskyy, speaking for his nation, asserted that the Ukrainian people desperately want peace. They were a peaceful nation before Russia's rather unneighborly invasion, and they want to return to that state. But as with all things, it must be a just and lasting peace. In a move that could only be described as quintessentially Trumpian, the temporary ceasefire followed Trump's announcement of an 80-page minerals deal with Ukraine. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicted it would be signed on April 26. Details remain as elusive as a unicorn in a haystack, But Bloomberg reports suggest the U.S. has scaled back its demands for repayment from a hefty $300 billion to a more modest $100 billion. Because as we all know, $100 billion here, $100 billion there, pretty soon you're talking real money. So dear viewers, what do you think? Is peace within reach, or are we just spinning our wheels in the diplomatic mud? Can Trump's deal-making prowess finally bring an end to this long-running saga? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy a little satire with your news, and subscribe for more. After all, in a world full of noise, where else are you going to get such a clear, concise, and comically critical take on the news? Stay tuned and stay savvy.